There are a lot of topics we want to get to. We're going to start with the decision last night in the Garner case. I'm curious, I know you expressed a lot of outrage last night in very emotional terms, very powerful terms at the press conference last night. I'm curious, in the light of day now, have you given any thought to what you think could possibly have happened inside that grand jury that led to this outcome?
I'm still baffled. You know, I have reflected upon that all night long, and it just seems to me almost impossible not to get an indictment in this case. You have evidence, the videotape. You have a medical examiner's report that said it was a homicide. You know that a chokehold was ruled not to be utilized by the police department. And in a grand jury proceeding, which is completely controlled by the district attorney, there is no way that you don't come out at least with criminally negligent homicide or involuntary manslaughter. I would love to see what the DA's instructions were to the grand jury, whether or not he asked for an indictment after he presented his case, how he cross-examined the witnesses, particularly the police officer who took the life of Mr. Garner. So I'm really baffled how you come away with no indictment in this situation.
Congressman, why would the prosecutor have taken the case to a grand jury if he didn't want an indictment? Well,
you know, as I look at what took place in Staten Island and look what took place in Ferguson, the only answer that I can come up to is, as a prosecutor, you have the discretion to say that you're not going to take the case to the grand jury at all. But you know that that puts pressure directly on you. So you can half-heartedly present a case to the grand jury, I guess, and say the grand jury, not you as the prosecutor, came up with a no true indictment, and that's the scenario. I mean, that's I'm not giving you something that's based upon the facts as I know them, but it's the facts that, as the circumstantial evidence seems to be presenting itself, and without anything else, you know, circumstantial evidence is good evidence when you are trying a case.
Congressman, if the grand jurors made the decision, now in the St. Louis case, it's a little different. It seemed there that the prosecutor did want to basically put the onus on the grand jurors, and I think reasonable people can disagree, but it's not unreasonable to look at his efforts in that case and say maybe his heart wasn't in seeking an indictment. But you can see that it's possible, right, that in this case, much different. The prosecutor perhaps went for an indictment, but some of your fellow New Yorkers sitting on the grand jury simply didn't see it. That's at least possible, right?
Well, that's why I say that the transcripts need to be released, and we need to know what took place in the grand jury room. And at the very least, I hope that Attorney General Holder will take a look and see what took place. Because it seems to me, and, you know, everybody that I've talked to thus far, even up on the Hill, with the exception of one of my colleagues, they're still baffled by it when they looked at the videotape. Even the speaker has said, Speaker Boehner, that, you know, we need to get to the bottom of this. And some of my Republican colleagues are starting to talk about having to have some hearings on the process itself to try to figure this out, because this is baffling to not just on this particular scenario, not just African Americans. That's why you had my colleagues Joe Crowley and Jerry Nadler and Elliot Engel stand up with the New York delegation. It's baffling to anybody that looked at that videotape.
Congressman, I'm curious now, you just pointed out there's a lot of consensus that this is baffling and a lot of people are upset about it, both right and left. Everyone seems to agree. I'm curious about what you think should now happen, not just in terms of investigating this case, but in terms of policy going forward to keep this kind of thing from happening again.
Well, I think that the Attorney General has to, and I look forward to his recommendations, make the grand jury process is at least part of his investigation. I know they're going to do practice and pattern investigation. I know they're going to look at civil rights violations against the officers for the death of Mr. Garner and Mr. Brown. But I think that what has to happen is also they need to come back, because by it being a closed proceeding, and with what I saw thus far, the ruling of a judge in the New York City case saying only a very limited part of the testimony, a very limited part of the grand jury proceeding proceeding will be submitted, and that just talks about the number of witnesses. We're not getting the detail or the record, as we did in Ferguson, to make those kinds of concrete judgments. So the only one that can do that is the AG at this matter. So I would hope the AG does that and make that part of his entire investigatory process. Above and beyond that, I think that what the mayor of the city of New York is doing is absolutely the right thing, because as we look at these cases, it seems to me that there has to be a complete retraining of the police officers. I know in New York City, it may be across this country, because if an officer could even think that that was the proper procedure to go by when you got an individual who's not armed, who's not threatening, who's not violent, who's not, just standing back and say, oh, what's going on? And you think you've got to take him down in a violent manner like that, then somebody wasn't trained properly. And so I think that the mayor, Mayor de Blasio, is doing the right thing, and he understands the significance of this, because as he said at his own press conference, it's personal to him, because he has to tell his son every day to be careful. So those are real problems that we have throughout America that's going on right now.